Now, let us understand the movement and the shift along the supply curve. See, when the movement happens, what is the reason for that movement? Because there is a change in the price of the goods, other factors remaining constant. So, we will move on the same supply curve either up or down. This is also known as change in the quantity supplied of a commodity. Okay, the movement along a supply curve will take form of either expansion of supply curve or it might be contraction of supply. Okay, so the movement happens either because there is an extension of supply or there is a contraction of supply. Let's now try to understand the extension of supply. See, we have been given this schedule and we have been given this particular diagram. Okay, let's understand this. Expansion of supply will happen when the quantity supplied increases because there is a rise in the price. So, in this case, we would have an upward or rightward movement in the same supply curve. So, let us see, if the price is 10, increases to 20, then to 30, then to 40, the supplied quantity would increase. Okay. So, here the quantity supplied increased to 10, 20, 30 and 40. So, that is how you can see here. Here it is 10 increased to 20, then 30 and then 40. So, basically here there is a movement along the same supply curve, but a upward movement because it is an expansion happening. Now, let us see the contraction. What happens here? Okay. See, this would happen when the quantity supplied would start decreasing because of fall in the price. So, in this case, we would have a movement in this manner. See, extension happens in this manner, contraction happens in the opposite manner. So, here what you will see, when the price was 8, right? So, the quantity supplied was 4, then it went down to 6. So, the quantity supplied decreased. So, here you can see the movement is in this manner. So, the contraction is happening in a downward manner. Now, let us see how there is a shift in the supply curve. This is a situation where there would be an increase or decrease in the supply even when the own price of the commodity is constant. So, if we are talking about wheat, even if the price of the wheat is constant, still we will see a increase or decrease in the supply. Okay. What are the reasons for that? This could be because of the increase or decrease in the price of related commodities, state of technology, cost of production, government policy, the number of firms if they increase or decrease, okay, the business confidence if gets better or maybe it gets worse, or the goal of firm changes. So, these factors result in shift in supply curve. So, let us see how the shift happens. Now, when do we say there is an increase in supply curve? When the supply of commodity increases due to favorable changes in the prices, then we would see increase in supply curve. At that time, the supply curve will move towards right. Okay. So, at the same price, here the price is remaining constant. So, the quantity supplied would increase from Q1 to now Q2. So, you can see here this is how from S to S1 the supply curve has shifted. So, here basically the supply curve has shifted towards right. So, this is the increase in supply. Now, let us see what are the causes of increase in supply. See, the reason would be when there is a fall in the price of the substitute goods, or when there is a rise in the price of the complementary goods, or when there is a changes in the goal of the producer to being a sales maximizer, when there is a fall in the prices of factors of production, or if there is an improvement in technology wherein we can produce more at a lesser price, or similar kind of such improvement we see, if there is increase in the number of firms in the market, and if there is a changes which is a favorable change in the government policy such as decreasing taxes or increasing subsidies all this will result in increase in supply in the market. Now let us see what happens or why there is a decrease in the supply. See, a supply of a commodity would decrease because of some unfavorable change in the factors other than price. Okay, so there would be a constant supply or an increase in supply, but then because of some kind of change in a factor which is not price, that would result in decrease in supply. So here the supply curve will shift leftwards instead of rightward. Now it is shifting this side. Okay, so here you can see earlier we had supplied Q1 at price P1. Now at the same price we are supplying lesser quantity, which is Q2. So from SS the supply curve has shifted to S1 S1. So that's how the quantity supplied has decreased and there is a leftward shift in the supply curve. Okay. Now what are the causes for this? The causes is because there is a rise in the price of the substitute goods, or when there is a fall in the price of complementary goods, or when there is a changes in the goal of producers to being profit maximization. Okay, when there is a rise in the price of factors of production, or when there is an outdated technology or decrease in the number of firms in the market, or changes in the government policy, which could be either increased taxes or reduced subsidies. All this will result in decrease in supply. So remember, to begin with, let us understand first the concept of elasticity of supply. What is elasticity of supply? See, it is the measure of responsiveness of quantity which has been supplied to change in the own price of the commodity. So if the price changes by, let's say, X% or by X rupees, how much is the quantity supplied that gets changed? Okay, how the changes are. So let's understand what is the formula to calculate it. The formula to calculate is percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Okay, now let us understand the degree of elasticity of supply. There are 5 main degrees of elasticity of supply. The first one, we are going to discuss a situation where your E1 is equal to 0. That is where it is perfectly inelastic supply. So this would be a scenario when the supply will not change. The supply of commodity will remain constant irrespective of any change in the price. So if I have to graphically present it, what would happen? It would be a straight line parallel to y-axis. Here you can see this is the perfectly inelastic supply. Okay, so here what happens, even when the price changes from, let's say, from 10 it increases to 20 and then it increases to 30, the quantity supplied remains constant. Okay, so this is a scenario of E1 is equal to 0. Now let's move further and understand perfectly elastic supply, a situation where your E1, or we can also say this as ES, is equal to infinity. So what happens here? The supply of a commodity would be perfectly elastic when the supplies expand, the supply expands or the supply contracts to any extent without any change in the price. So what happens here? That the price remains constant. Let's say the price is 10 rupees, but then the quantity changes, expands or contracts. Okay, so this is how ES is equal to infinity is getting represented. Now let's move to the next one, which is your unitary elastic supply, a situation where my ES is equal to 1, or I can say E1 is equal to 1. Now here what happens, if the percentage change in the supply is equal to percentage change in the price, we call it as unit elasticity of demand, unit elasticity of supply. Okay, so here what is happening, the coefficient of ES would be equal to 1. So as you can see in this diagram, this change in the price from P to P1 is equal to the change in the quantity, that is from Q to Q1. Let's understand the next one, that is your inelastic or less than unit elastic supply, a situation where ES is less than 1. What happens here is the percentage change in the quantity supplied would be less than the percentage change in the price. So here you can see the price increase from P to P1. Here it is, the increase is quite high. Okay, let's say the price increase from 10 to 20. but then if you can see, the change in the quantity supplied was not much. It just, let's say for example, increased from 20 to 25. Okay. Now here remember, the SS would be a straight line intersecting the x-axis in its positive range. Okay. So this is how the inelastic or less than unit elastic supply graphical representation looks like. Now, the next one is a situation where ES is greater than 1. What do we call that? Obviously, elasticity more than unit, or the situation where it is elastic. So, we call this as elastic, or we call it as more than unit elastic supply. Okay, so here what happens, the percentage change in the supply would be more than the percentage change in the price. The scenario would be now reversed. So here you can see the price would change from, let's say, 10 to 20, but the quantity supplied would change from 20 to, let's say, 40. So this is how the elasticity of more than unit elasticity supply looks like. Okay.